welcome to the official Lakes International Comic Art Festival podcast. My name's Ian.
And my name's Nikki, bringing you the best in comics and graphic novels and updates from the festival.
Well, welcome to the Lakes International Comic Art Festival podcast, episode 56. My name's Ian.
And I'm Nikki.
I got it right then, I had to think
What,
for a second.
my name?
Oh yeah, that. Who are you? Slow brain day. We got a host of stuff on this episode. Host of stuff.
Bring it.
Okay, first we bring back Emma Vieceli.
I love her.
I managed to not say her name like that. Emma Vieceli.
She would kill you.
Well, I can say it now because she's she'll listen probably.
Yes.
She's on to talk about her new book, Breaks 2, the special edition version.
So
which,
fun.
as
it's
we...
funded.
Whoa. Whoa.
Am I not allowed to say that?
There's a flow in what I'm going to
why?
say.
I'm
You've
so excited for
ruined
her.
What I was going to say.
I totally fangirl her, so it's fine. It's funded. I'm so pleased.
What I was
for
going
her.
to say is,
It's funded.
in this episode, when we talk to Emma,
It's funded.
she's so concerned and
she's so worried.
fearful of it not funding. I don't know, I was going to roll smoothly into that, but no.
It's funded.
But no, she goes and ruins my fun. Anyway.
Like it wouldn't get funded. Come on. It's amazing.
We've reviewed Breaks 1, obviously, in the past,
Yeah.
which we'll call it Breaks 1 now.
Breaks.
Not just Breaks. Yeah, that's what happens when you have multiple... When you call something 2, the original then becomes 1.
Thank you for clarifying that one.
Just saying.
But needed clarifying. Not.
So, yeah, she comes on, talks about
It's funded.
Breaks 2. And also quite a bit about gaming and stuff, which is really good fun.
Oh, because she is my sister from another mother now.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm slightly older than her, but that's fine.
So you're the older sister.
I'm the older sister.
That's obvious,
so
that.
cool.
God. We have some extra special guests, however, in the form of students from Queen Elizabeth School in Kirby Lonsdale.
Yes.
Isaac Thompson and John Hughes. They come on and talk a little bit about their enjoyment of comics and what the school does. They've got a comics club at the school.
Yep.
That's what the school does in relation to the festival.
That is pretty cool, though, a comics club at
Yeah.
the school.
So, the way I decided to do this, because we had to send the questions off and they recorded it, I've thrown in the bits that we sent off via YouTube, which is why the sound quality is not quite as good as normal. And then interlaced that with the answers you see.
Look at you with your editing skills.
Took me like a bit of time to work that out.
Oh, is that what you were doing this morning when I was at work?
Yeah,
Slaving
7 o'clock
away.
this morning.
I've been at work for an hour.
So that's all sort of there. So it was nice to have some kids on as well. You know, the youth.
Well, they
the
have
future.
to carry on the comics
With
torch.
comics, love. Mike introduces us to the greatest Star Wars character ever.
Was
in
it
his
Jar Jar
opinion.
Binks?
Well, again, we'll ignore her. Dr. Aphra. Never heard of it, but a comic character. Never heard of this character.
Jar
so.
Jar Binks?
And Tom reviews Care Spiller's Lost Light.
Ooh.
And Pete's not on today.
Why is Pete? Is he shirking his responsibilities?
He's been a busy boy at BAM
he
Comic
playing?
Fair this week.
Yeah, he's playing hooky.
But he's got
Detention for him.
Ignore Nicole. He's got a Kickstarter coming up very shortly, which we'll be shouting about.
We shall. We could just
next
talk about it,
episode.
of course, not actually shout.
Well, you've been shouting about Breaks 2 for the past 5 minutes.
I didn't mean like that. I mean like eardrums.
So that'll be coming up next episode. I'm sure there'll be bits and bobs going on about that. We've got a quick review to do in a minute of our final Halloween Part 2, which is also currently on Kickstarter. And then we're going to briefly talk about Spiderman Far From Home.
Ah.
It's like you completely forgot we'd seen it.
Well, I didn't see it with you.
Just because I went with another female.
I'm sure you can say that about your own daughter. I went with 2 other men. My children.
Notice I didn't say women.
Okay.
So, yeah, briefly, our final Halloween Part 2 by Mike Garley and Mike Lee Graham is, as it says, Part 2. It's all
Yes.
Part 2s.
It's a Part 2 type of show.
Yeah. Currently on Kickstarter, their first comic we did review back, which felt like it was going to be a one-off.
Yeah.
In fact, he even said it was a one-off, but they've now added to the story.
Which works.
And what did you call it?
I said it was a grown-up Scooby-Doo.
God,
I meant that that really nicely. It's just you got a group of kids. And they've got to solve the mystery, but it's all like supernatural and death and a lot of blood.
So it follows on from there. I'm not going to go into the story, but when they were captured within a house and ghosty goings on.
And stop there.
And bloody goings on within the house.
Yeah, let's just say, room of blood. So that's fine.
And the thing that I do like about it is the style.
Yes.
And the colourings of the pages and the way they sort of stick to one colour almost per page and it changes.
When they see a certain person in a certain institution, it all goes very psychedelic and comes outside of the borders, which I like. Because it's like...
Because you don't like lines.
I don't like lines. I don't think anything should be constrained by lines. I'm very pedantic about that. I think, if you can draw something outside of a border, do it. I'm having to border my new one and I'm not happy.
Yes, she's on. So if you like the sounds of that, if you like your horror comics with a bit of fun. Yeah,
because I do think as I start reading these ones, I like, am I going to get scared? But actually it's more kind of adventure horror and I like that.
Go and check it out on Kickstarter now. Just search Our Final Halloween Part 2. And you can get Part 1 as well.
Yes.
Obviously, you really want them both, to be fair. If you've not read any of them.
Yeah, you need to start with Part 1.
But they do a good price on the digital.
Yeah.
So go and give it a shot.
It works well on the digital as well.
Yeah. Right, so Spider-Man Far From Home. Now...
That's me doing my Spider-Man bits.
I wouldn't have thought a year or two ago you would have actually been interested.
No, because I hate Spider-Man.
In seeing a Spider-Man film.
I put Spider-Man out there with Superman in my hatred of things. But actually, I've really enjoyed these films with Tom Holland in.
So is it Tom Holland or is it... It's got to be the writing as well, hasn't it?
It's the writing.
As good as Tom is, I'm sure there's other people that could play him.
Oh, yeah. It is the writing and the storylines that I've thoroughly enjoyed. I see, I go against everyone yet again, but I didn't enjoy who was it that
Tobey Maguire.
Can't stand him as Spider-Man. Hated those Spider-Men.
1 and 2 were really good.
No, didn't like it. They were awful. But that's just me, because I don't like Thingy as...
Tobey Maguire.
No, I don't like them either. But I don't like Thingy as Superman either.
Christopher Reeve.
No, Christopher Reeve is fine. Okay. You cannot diss the Christopher Reeve. No, what's his name?
Yeah, the latest one, whatever it is. The Witcher.
I'm not happy about that. It's fine. I don't like him.
Okay.
And I didn't like those ones. I mean, not personally. I mean, if I met him in the street, I'd be nice to him. I just don't
Henry
like
Cavill.
him. That's
there we
it.
go.
I don't like him playing... And I don't like Superman because he's far too goody-goody and it just annoys me.
Okay, but isn't Spider-Man goody-goody?
Yes, but I've always seen him as a bit of a cheeky chappy, that kind of thing. And I never felt it came across in the other films, but I do feel with Tom Holland it does come across. And I love the fact that I think the age is right for Spider-Man. Yeah. I don't like it when they try and make him a bit too old. But I mean, obviously, anyway, I like him as seeing all that teenage angst as well. And I think he just balances it. All the writing's balanced it very well.
So the story, if you've not known about it, is basically they go on a school trip. They initially explain...
To Europe.
First of all, they explain the issues of people coming back from the blip or the click, depending on what you want to call it.
Yeah, they tried to paper over that quick, didn't they? Hang on.
Well, that was enough, to be fair. It gave us enough. We didn't need to know any more. Maybe they can work out more on future
Wasn't it
films.
Lucky that his entire class disappeared?
No, it wasn't his entire. There's only actually, if you think about it, there's only about 7 or 8 key people that really matter, even if that.
Yeah, and then they had that one guy that didn't.
So the rest of them don't really matter.
Yeah, but his teachers did as well.
Well, it's 50-50, to be fair. There's a good chance.
It's a half a chance. Okay.
So the story, follows him going off into Europe, where he's trying to romanticize.
He's trying to pluck up the courage to tell MJ how he feels.
And that's sort of the heart of the film.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no.
That's what it is with these ones. It's got a heart.
There's that, and there's also him dealing with Tony Stark's death as well, because that's plastered everywhere.
Oh, every
scene. This is all trailer
isn't
stuff.
It? Every scene you've got him on a Tony Stark Iron Man on a wall, or
because he saved the world essentially. So
he brought everyone back.
So that was, quite sad at times. But then we have these great elementals. Again, this is all the trailer stuff, just briefly going through it as I hit the microphone. Elementals popping up out of nowhere. And luckily for the world, the wonderful Mysterio is there to save the day. Woo! And the story follows how Mysterio and Spider-Man, or Peter Parker, who's trying not to be Peter Spider-Man for his holiday.
Yeah. And I think it's also because it comes apparent that Tony Stark has left a great weight on his shoulders as well. And that mantle doesn't sit lightly on him.
When all he wants to be is a friendly neighbourhood.
Yeah, he just wants to be a teenager in a way, and he just wants to help, like I say, his local, on a small scale. He doesn't want to save the world. He just wants to help people and live his life. He wants that balance, which you can't have, and it's that struggle, I think. I
don't want to spoil any of the story.
Don't spoil it then.
But there is some great Mysterio effects.
Right, and stop there.
No, I'm not spoiling it. I'm just saying there's great Mysterio effects that match what you've seen in comics or seen on the cartoon. It's there. What you know of Mysterio, the effects, and the way they bring those effects to screen are really
in the second
clever.
part, when it messes with his mind, basically. Yeah. I'm going to say it like that so it doesn't spoil anything.
Well, if you know Mysterio, you know what's going on.
Yeah. That was a visual treat, wasn't it?
It works how it should work, if that makes sense. It's how you'd imagine, how you've seen it in the comics, how you've seen it on the cartoon, which it all worked really, really well.
Yeah. That second half of the movie was bam, 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 straight through.
And the way it explains everything as well.
Yeah.
Without going into detail, the way it sort of puts it within the world, it just fits perfectly.
It did work really well.
So it's very clever. There are 2 end credits,
mid-credit
roll.
Sit for the whole
and
thing.
the end. Well, I wasn't as impressed with the end credit roll. People, please, when you've seen it, tell me if I'm wrong. It didn't really do anything for me.
I think that's because you haven't seen Captain Marvel.
No, because I still know.
Yeah.
It still didn't do anything. I know it's leading up to stage 3.
Well, people think it's leading up to Sword, isn't it?
Yeah, and spoilers.
Oh no!
Doesn't matter because that's all out there. And stage 3 is, which is fairly clear what they've said is, they've already said this quite openly on, I think, stage 3 is out in space.
Yes.
That is a whole sort of focus.
Okay.
And that's we know that already. So it's building up on that.
I found the first...
I thought that was amazing. We can't talk about it at all.
No, I'm not. But I was really upset because I just wanted it all to be happy.
The mid-credit roll puts glee on your face because it harks back in multiple ways to the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. But then it completely sets up the next movie and destroys everything. And it's brilliant.
Yeah, and Say No More.
Nothing Say No More, yeah. It's so overall...
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Better than Homecoming or not?
On a par.
On a par?
I think it kept up the feeling and... I liked it, yeah. I can't say that it was like, because sequels are sometimes let them down, but I didn't think that did.
I think I preferred Vulture to the villain that's within this film, but that's just me. Story-wise, you can't really say much to that. Equal.
At least it wasn't a gaseous cloud. That's all I'm going to say.
I don't know what you're saying.
Every villain.
So it'll be interesting. I mean, there's rumours. If you've seen the film, there's so many rumours out there that the way they finished it does link to stories out there. So we'll see. We'll see what's coming. I don't want to say any more. But
no, don't.
Yeah, stop.
Yeah.
Thoroughly enjoyable. Go and see. Right, so let's let the people take it away.
Ooh, they're going to run with it, are they?
I'm going to run with it. And we'll come back on the other side to talk a bit about the festival.
Mike's Mutterings.
Hello and welcome again to another episode of Mike's Mutterings. And today I'm hoping I can introduce at least some people to one of the greatest Star Wars characters ever, and that only comic fans will have ever heard of. I present to you the complete download on everything that is Dr. Aphra. So, who exactly is Dr. Chelly Lona Aphra? Well, she's a galaxy-spanning archaeologist, doing anything to survive and make a living under the crush of Imperial rule. Most reviewers liken her character to a female Harrison Ford, insomuch as she's, superficially at least, a blend of both Han Solo and Indiana Jones. And that's partially true, but I think that's really where it ends for me. She has the snark and attitude of Solo, and that fearless, make the plan up as you go along indie approach, but that's where it ends for me. Solo has a sense of what's right, and although it's hard to appeal to sometimes, it does come through in the end. Aphra, not so much. Her sense of right and wrong is mainly dictated by who has done right or wrong by her. And as for Indy's "that belongs in a museum," well, for Aphra it's more of a case of that belongs in the hands of a shady backstreet dealer who's going to give me a huge wad of credits for it, which belongs in my back pocket. The allies, enemies, and even employers that she attracts are all as equally dodgy and dangerous as she is. Whereas Han's a career criminal, Aphra seems to live every moment with pure criminal intent. Her field of archaeology is also pretty telling. She collects and deals in ancient weapons, mostly prohibited droid tech, but diversifies into Jedi artifacts as needs be. There is no doubt she is fundamentally a bad person, but a bad person in a bad situation, surrounded by much, much badder people. But you will love her. She's not evil. I buy an awful lot of Star Wars comic titles, and there are so many, all with different story styles or intended audiences, that it's impossible to collect everything, or even want to. I've said in previous podcasts that you have to pick and choose wisely, so reviews and podcasts such as ours are really useful in helping you choose. And it was in another podcast that I actually heard a review of the first 6 issues, and that alerted me to what sounded a seriously cool story. So, off I went and found Volume 1 of the trade paperback, which collected those 6 issues. I sat down, read it, and of course I loved it, otherwise you wouldn't be hearing me sing its praises right now. But there was a lot of backstory I felt was missing. Unusually for me, I hadn't done a lot of research and quickly realised that Aphra's origin story lay elsewhere. So, back in 2015, Marvel restarted the Star Wars core title, and with it released a number of very character-specific miniseries. I bought a fair few of these. The majority were actually really good, but I didn't get the 25-issue run of Darth Vader, and it was within that series that we got the origin story of not only Dr. Aphra, but also her key team members, droids 000 and BT-1. Luckily, the entire Darth Vader run is still easily available in several trade paperback volumes. But I went for the huge hardback omnibus because it was harder to find, it was vastly more expensive, and I was online shopping after a night out. I may have bought it for Aphra, but actually the whole series breathed new life into the Vader character for me. It was a real revelation. It takes place right after the destruction of the original Death Star in the Battle of Yavin. The Empire is reeling, and their hold on the galaxy weakened. It starts with Vader fulfilling the role of bully boy for the Emperor, which was all he was at that point. Out he goes, trying to restore some semblance of galactic order, trying to appease his master, especially after the loss of the Death Star. But Vader also has his own personal agendas, and that includes investigating the young rebel pilot he encountered, within whom he sensed the Force. Unfortunately, he is under the constant surveillance from Imperial commanders and auditors and officers that outrank him at this point. To further complicate matters, a number of new apprentices present themselves to the Emperor in competition with Vader. The entire story is all about how Vader rises above all this and transforms from being just the Emperor's jackboot to the Emperor's right hand. Along the way, he recruits his own personal operatives like Aphra, stages shipping heists, does deals with hook crime syndicates, and cleverly assassinates or just openly murders his way through all that challenges him. It's an incredible journey, and the Vader Down storyline is the highlight of it. When Vader crash lands alone, he comes face to face with Luke, Leia, Han, Chewie, and an entire rebel battalion. It's a real standout story. Like I said, we also get the origin of Aphra, and how she liberated the prohibited 000 personality matrix from a quarantine world, thus activating 000, a protocol droid specializing in etiquette, customs, translations, and torture. And there's also the stolen BT-1. It's a prototype blastermech droid. It may look like an ordinary astromech like R2, but it's an assassin with the ability to present a truly frightening array of weaponry. We also meet Wookiee bounty hunter Black Chrysanthemum, who retrieves Aphra and the droids on Vader's orders. The dynamic between Aphra and Vader is fascinating. Firstly, she does admit that she's a fan of him, but she also knows how expendable she is, and the fear that Vader inspires in her is palpable. But her resolve, her skills, and even her sarcasm in the face of death gains her some kind of respect from him. And they actually make a good team when it comes to actually getting stuff done. It's a brilliant story, all from the mind of writer Kieran Gillen. I've read loads of his stuff, and he's just never disappointed me yet. He did a massively long Uncanny X-Men run, which included the critically acclaimed Fear Itself arc, and I've done a very complimentary review of his very own The Wicked and the Divine series. Gillen realised quite quickly that by issue 3 of Darth Vader, the fans were responding to Aphra most of all, and sales rocketed. This was how Gillen got the chance to write Dr. Aphra's own series, and this is the first ever ongoing comic series given to a Star Wars character that's not in any film. And that's a big thing for the Star Wars franchise. Remember, all Marvel Star Wars comics published since the 2015 relaunch are considered canon by Disney. And so, I ploughed on with Dr. Aphra series, briefly pausing during Volume 2, and that was to grab a copy of the Screaming Citadel. And this was a kind of a crossover comic, where Aphra teams up with no other than Skywalker himself in search of a special Jedi artifact, a conscious kyber crystal. Volume 2 is called Dr. Aphra and the Enormous Prophet, and I think this is a really nice nod to the sort of Indiana Jones titles. It also gives us the origin of the mighty Wookiee Black Chrysanthemum, who, although he was the original bounty hunter that brought Aphra to Vader, now he is part of the crew. It's a good origin too. Volume 3 is called Remastered, Volume 4, The Catastrophe Con, and that's followed by Volume 5, Worst Amongst Equals, which I'm hoping will drop through my letterbox any day now. Volume 6 is Unspeakable Rebel Superweapon, and that's due September time. We see Aphra fight for her dodgily gained doctorate to be restored, thanks to being dobbed in by her father. She ransacks Jedi temples. She's blackmailed into an attack on an Imperial base by a former ally. She starts a relationship with Senator Imperial Officer Tolvan, who herself is a great character. And we also see her create the cutest suicide bomber ever, a series of clones. I can't really talk more about that. She also runs up against Hera Syndulla and the rest of the Ghost crew, and tons more. It's a really inventive, witty and addictive series, and it's one of the key reasons I give to read Star Wars issues now. As a character, Aphra appeared in the mobile game Star Wars Force Arena, though you can ignore that, as it was an awful pay-to-do-anything game that I think finally got withdrawn and shut down earlier this year. She's also a player character in the Outer Rim board game that's just been released by Fantasy Flight Games. There's 8 characters I think you can play, and Aphra joins the ranks of Han Solo, Jyn Erso, Lando and even Boba Fett. So esteemed company indeed. Over the last few years, I've also noticed Aphra cosplay a lot at comic and gaming events, with the trademark leather flight helmet, goggles and circuitry tattoos on her arm on display. I obviously try and do at least a little research before committing myself to podcast, and I learned that Aphra does actually make a literary appearance too. And even weirder, I actually own the book. But there's a story here. A quick digression then. A few years ago, we were involved in planning the birthday party for my brother-in-law, which was having a heavy Star Wars theme, should we say. And yes, we did a Death Star cake, and please note, this predated the Big Bang Theory attempt. But I was also looking for other more geeky food and drink to theme it with. So I started my search for the best blue milk recipe out there. And that's when I stumbled on the Operation Blue Milk hashtag. It was really a hashtag advert which was a tease for a new book to celebrate the Star Wars 40th anniversary later that year. That book is titled From a Certain Point of View and is a volume of 40 stories, all featuring scenes from A New Hope, but from the perspective of a sometimes random background character. And all is official canon. It's a brilliant book, so good in fact, I've been rationing myself, seriously. The stories are all short reads and from a smorgasbord of top authors. I'm barely halfway through it thanks to a strict holiday-only reading rationing regime, and so I never realised that Kieran Gillen wrote a story for Dr. Aphra in it called The Trigger. I've no idea where in the book it is, or what it's about, or what scene it's from, but eventually I'll reach it and it's just going to be a lovely surprise. Anyway, hopefully I've given enough of a taste. She's a cleverly written character, and the stories have some really memorable supporting characters too. 000 and BT-1's murderous attitude towards humankind is a welcome source of humour too, and some of the one-sided conversations between them are worth the ticket price alone. They are the evil incarnate clones of C-3PO and R2-D2, and they quickly outgrow their human overlords. The momentum of fan support has definitely been recognised, and I'm hoping that the mouse will be looking past just including her in niche games and actually go for a movie of her own. 3 parts full milk, 1 part cream, 1 part Malibu, 1 part amaretto, magical 2 parts of curacao, and then maybe an extra drop of vanilla essence to taste. That's my personal blue milk recipe. Adults only, of course. Till next time.
I guarantee that probably about 4 times over the course of our chat, my cat will want to come in and out of the door. So that's...
We'll have a cat off.
Yes, because our cat likes to walk. When she knows we're on doing the podcast, she'll come up and then just walk through all the wires.
Yeah. They just want to be there, don't they? They want to be part of it.
Well, we don't want them there.
She can hear you. She'll be down in a second.
Yes, I know. Stupid cat. Right, anyway.
You're so mean.
I'm so mean. I think you're equal to Nick Brokenshire now for a number of times on the podcast.
Oh,
you're beating Sean Phillips.
Yes.
And Charlie Adlard. Yes. So there you go.
Wow, but that means you have so many different exciting people. That's the thing. That's the way I tell myself. If I've not been invited back on a podcast, I just assume it's because that podcast is so popular and successful. They have so many different creators that they don't want me on twice.
I feel really bad now.
No, but you've even invited me back on, so
Oh yeah, fair play. That's a fair point.
This is a win-win.
This is more sympathy. A sympathy invite. You've got to be nice, haven't you?
Share numbers with Nick.
It's only because Nick rocks up everywhere we go to be fair.
He really does.
He does, he follows us.
It's everywhere we turn up, he's there.
Yeah.
Well, we were nearly following you last week or the week before. We had a group little weekend holiday up in Ullswater, literally pretty much. But in this stunning property, up, I think it's technically Martindale, so you kind of go to Ullswater and then go up, and it was just beautiful. So yes, we were in your neck of the woods.
Oh, lovely.
Well, it depends what the weather was like at the time. To be fair,
that's true. I was just trying to think of what the weather's been like.
Actually.
Was it all right?
It's just Kendall that gets the rain then.
Because it's in a dip.
No, we lucked out. I've got a slight echo hearing myself, but it only comes on now and then, so
we're not
that's
hearing
not
it.
going to affect anything your end.
No, we're all good.
Cool.
All good. Right, so let's jump straight into it. It's been about a year since we last spoke, year and a half. Properly, it was at Carlisle Comic Con.
It's shocking how quickly the time goes, to be honest, in comic years.
That's over a year, because there's been another, it's about a year and a half, roughly. So, in that year and a half, what have you been up to?
Oh, well, I've eaten lots of meals, and I've tried to sleep several times.
I want every single meal listed, please.
I turned 40. That was
Hey! Welcome to the club.
I was going to say, so did I.
Yay!
Yeah, right. Well, I've done that.
But I'm going to assume you mean in terms of comics. What have I done in the last year and a half? So probably the big thing, well, other than the fact that, breaks, which we'll move on to, just continues on. The big thing has been switching my hats up a little bit. And I've written in the past for myself doing comics, obviously, with stuff like breaks. But I'm now writing the Life is Strange comics for Titan. So that's been probably the most different thing, because it's just a different world getting to write a comic and then have an art team make it happen and getting to sit on the other side and going, oh, this is amazing. So as an artist, I also got to tick an amazing box because Karen Berger's been a hero of mine for like years and years, ever since I was first getting into comics. And I got to work with her on, with Dark Horse doing Olivia Twist. So that was amazing as an artist. And then to go from that into then writing for, the first time writing for someone else and on a title that I absolutely love. It's been a really exciting year.
So did you play the video game?
Oh, very much.
Yeah. So you were gamer at heart then?
Oh, yeah, hugely. So the funny thing is with Life is Strange is that I was playing it when it was first coming out, and I did some fan art of Chloe. So we're talking like, gosh, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago or something now. I lose track of the time. But I did some fan art of Chloe, and around that time, someone who was working for Square Enix, they used Squaresoft so many years ago.
Stop showing the age.
Yeah, I know. Someone who was working for their online media team, I guess, saw my artwork, and they reached out, and I ended up doing a commission for them, where I did like a series of illustrations. So as an artist, a series of illustrations to promote the game when it was first coming out. So that was my original link to Life is Strange. And so it was really funny that years later, Titan basically asked if I'd be interested, mainly because, Andrew at Titan at the time had been reading breaks actually, and he saw like some of the theme similarities, and asked me if I'd like to work on it as the writer, which was amazing. And the first time I went into Square to meet up with them, the chap was still there who I'd worked with as the artist, and it was this amazing moment where he was like, wait a minute, you're the person who drew the artwork. And it was like, yes, I'm still here. I am just sort of following this game everywhere it goes. So yeah, it was like one of these lovely serendipitous things where it all came together at the right time. And it's not just me, the entire team working on that comic are such huge fans of the game, which makes it really special.
So what games are you into particularly at the minute then? Anything standing out?
Right now, so for years, I don't know about you guys, but myself and my husband have been desperate to find just the right couch co-op.
Don't.
Right. Are you playing Divinity Original Sin?
No.
We've enjoyed Diablo.
Yes.
We've loved Diablo.
Yeah.
But we've not done that one.
Yeah, that's fun. But it was just this thing where, well, you know what it's like. You want to play together. Yeah. I mean, we've now got the sad setup where we each have our own PlayStation screen, so we can just sit in the same room but in different worlds, as how we coexist. But we wanted to play something together and get to run around, but not just running around fighting, which I found that a few things like Elder Scrolls and stuff was a much more, you got to bling up your character, but you were mostly running around fighting. We wanted something we had full-on quests and character development, and Divinity Original Sin is the best example we found of it so far. So we started on the first game, and everyone said the second game's out. We were like, nope, we want to do the first game first. Finished that. We've just started on the second game now, and I recommend it. I wholly recommend it for just getting to run around together in one game.
See, we've got a fight in our household at the minute, and it's really quite sad. What you're playing? What are you playing?
Well, I'm playing Stardew Valley.
Stardew Valley.
Oh my god, Stardew.
I love Stardew.
Yes.
And I'm playing Minecraft, and it's a battle of.
Back to Minecraft.
It's really sad. I'm like 5.
No, why not? Why not? We can be 5 at heart. But Nikki, the really important question is, who are you romancing in Stardew Valley?
I can't decide. I was like, I had started romancing Shane, but now it's like, no.
You're marrying pixels. These are little pixels. They're not even fleshed out characters. They're little pixels.
But they're so broken, and you feel like your mum might be able to fix them.
That's what I thought. He's so depressed.
He's depressed.
He's an alcoholic.
Really...
Oh my god.
It makes so much sense that you like breaks.
I now feel okay playing Minecraft after this.
I mean, what are the romance options like in Minecraft? I don't know.
There's men that just go, and that's about it.
That's not all I play games for, but it's a large part of what I play games for.
The romance, so it's Dragon Age.
I was going to say, you play Dragon Age, and that's
Dragon Age.
You text me saying, "Oh, I'm going to do this person. I'm going to be that person today."
It's always Blackwall.
It's like, one, I don't want to know.
I can't not. And then it's Fenris.
Blackwall, really?
Yeah,
oh, okay.
I do like a bit of the. Yeah, I like. Again, he's got such a broken story.
Yeah, I think I was Alistair.
Alistair. Yeah, Alistair definitely. Fenris for me. Oh,
right, yeah. He's pretty broody.
I do like a broody elf.
It's quite. I'm used to it, to be fair. If it's not games, it's Korean. It's anything Korean dramas. It's just.
Love my Korean dramas.
I'm just at the back of the queue.
My poor, you guys are amazing. My husband's very sweet. He'll just occasionally be like, "Oh, hey, I found a new statue of your other husband. Like, would you like this artwork of your other husband?" And, like, he gets it. But then he's got plenty of other, wives and girlfriends, so it's fine.
Yeah, but you see, you don't really do that.
I'm just devoted to you, my dear.
Oh, so pure.
Let's move on before we continue that. I get into trouble. So, just following on from that, what comic would you like to make a game out of? Now, if you say Stardew Valley now, then I'm just turning this off.
Hang on, which comic would I like?
If you had an option,
which game would I like to make a comic of?
Yeah, that one.
The second one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously Dragon Age is already being done in a lovely small world coincidence. Nunzio De Philippis and Christina Weir, who are my collaborators on Avalon Chronicles, are now writing the Dragon Age comics. So they are very good people to be writing those comics. They know good fantasy and they're massive fans of Dragon Age as well. Because that would have been at the top of my list. I think Life is Strange would have been up there, but I'm getting to do that, which is amazing. So I think the next one down, I would have to go to my all-time... I am a Final Fantasy old schooler. Like, not so much the new stuff. It's enjoyable, but for me, my two favourites are 8 and 12.
Yes.
So I think... If someone out there is listening and would like me to particularly draw the space pirate adventures of Balthier and Fran.
Yes.
Right.
I love Balthier. Again, voiced by Gideon Emery, so I just love it.
I know.
He's just, he's wonderful.
So I met Gideon Emery. I helped book him in for the MCM years ago when I was still kind of helping organise, and we got him and Adam at the same time. Adam Howden, who voiced Anders. Yeah. And we had both of them there. And so being able to stand in they're both lovely anyway, but getting to stand in a conversation with them and you just want to close your eyes and just be like, just keep talking at me. This is amazing. They were both fabulous.
Shall I just go?
No, because you got me my Gideon Emery. I've got a signed Gideon Emery picture.
Yes, that's what I did for our first Christmas, I think it was.
Yes, you got me. You were in a little conversation with Gideon Emery and got me a lovely personalised thing. So,
Yeah, that's what I used to try.
Voice actors are just... I get almost more excited about the prospect of meeting voice actors than I do. I think because when you're in a video game, playing a game, you are so immersed in that world. So you're not just meeting someone you've watched, you're meeting someone you know. It's really cool.
And that you've romanced, basically.
And then you're like, Anders, how could you?
Yes.
But yeah, so I'd say, yes, Balthier and Fred. Balthier was... Gosh, Balthier means a lot to me.
He was amazing.
So getting to write/draw the adventures of them on their space pirate adventures would be amazing.
Just drawing Fran, though, because she's an amazing character. Oh. She's so pretty with the ears and everything. Yeah,
I've got beautiful figures of them, like those statues they released of them, which I absolutely love. I'd love to do. Sorry, this is just a complete nerd conversation, but doing
it is. It's good.
The story of Balthier, how he went from being a judge to being what he is, would be so cool.
Yes. And how he fell out with his brother in the first place.
Yes. There's just so much. So much.
This should happen.
It should happen. It should.
Someone will be listening to this who can make this. Life is Strange is square, Final Fantasy is square. Yeah. I just need to
Yeah, you've already got your foot in the door, really.
It's fan art. Fan art, just do some fan art and away you go.
Yes, yeah. Carry on, yeah.
Before we get on to breaks, which is obviously the main reason I'm going to talk about, I just want to go into another verge of your enjoyment, which you put on Twitter quite a lot, D&D.
Yes.
Yes. Now, we're just starting randomly to get into D&D.
Yes.
Oh, great.
But you go a little bit further, don't you? Obviously, you dress up sometimes and really get into it.
So, to be a complete pedant, so the stuff where I dress up is LARP, which is live action role.
Oh, sorry,
it's nothing to do with D&D. So it's weird because I grew up playing tabletop RPGs. Like I was very heavily into Dark Conspiracy, MechWarrior, Twilight 2000. I had a group of friends that we played together every week for like 11 years. We had massive adventures. But we never really played D&D, funnily enough. I mean, for us, D&D was just one of the games that was out there. And obviously now D&D is just having such an immense popularity surge, which hopefully is helping everyone. But it almost gets to the point now where it's become like Hoover. You know, people just say, oh, you're playing D&D. And it's like, well, actually, no, I'm playing a very different game, but I can see why you would call it D&D. But LARP is, do you remember years and years ago they had that chart that was like a geek chart telling you who you were allowed to look down on, and so there were levels of geekdom that like you were allowed to feel superior to these guys, and these ones felt superior. LARP was very low down on that list. I think the only thing lower than LARP were like furry Star Trek fanfic writers who write themselves into their Star Trek fanfic.
I was hoping you weren't going to say something I enjoyed. That I'm glad. I'm safe.
But LARP was pretty low down, but it's just so much fun. You get to just escape for 4 weekends a year. You are just in another world. You no access to phones or technology. Most of the time you're sitting around a fire with friends, singing songs, drinking, telling stories. It's just lovely. And I think thanks to the D&D surge, I think people are actually like starting to look at LARP and going, wait, I'm enjoying D&D. Can I take this a step further? So
yeah, no, well, it is something I've sort of considered in the past, but never looked into it enough to ever make it a thing. But then you have to make your own clothes as well. That's the other thing.
Well,
if you want to look good.
I don't really. I'm quite a lazy LARPer, to be honest. I've been really lucky. Like I've been able to buy a lot of stuff and just put it together into outfits. Whereas Pard, my husband's been like, he's rocking it. He's got a sewing machine now. He's like, he's the one of us who's up there going, I'm just going to hem this. Da, 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 da. Whereas there's me going, I'm just going to buy this thing. I don't know how to do this. So that's the part. You don't have to be. You can literally, when the game we play is called Empire, which when we turn up, you've got an entire town and you can walk around the shops and buy clothes and, it's really, really cool. It's a very fun way to spend a weekend.
Sounds like it. I'm going to look into it more.
Yeah.
Right. So let's talk about breaks then.
Cool.
So before we discuss breaks 2, which has obviously been continuing free of charge on the webcomics.
I haven't seen.
We haven't seen it because we are.
I will not look.
We like the bound.
You
we
guys
like
are so hard.
Can you give us a brief rundown of the story for what Breaks is all about, essentially?
Oh boy. Okay. Right.
Without spoilers.
Without spoilers. I mean, you guys have done such a good job of that, to be honest, when you talked about it before anyway. But Breaks is essentially it's a coming of age, young adult, LGBTQ positive story. It's slice of life drama, but it's also a mystery that over the course of 3 arcs you slowly unravel. So you know from the first page what's coming at the end, and you're going to slowly work your way up to that, often forgetting that thing's coming. And along the way, you've sort of got you've got main 2 characters, Ian and Cortland. One of them has made big mistakes in the past, and that's part of the mystery, is you're slowly unraveling what they've done in the past to bring them to where they are now, and how that ties in with actually other characters around them, and how you end up with this. Every layer you unpeel, there's another level of this story that maybe went back further than you thought. And then the other one has got a big action that's going to come at some point in the future. And what we're seeing is the 2 of them sort of crossing over in the middle, and how their lives impact each other, and how when everything else is falling apart around them, what they find in each other is actually the positive bit that makes them stronger. So that's probably roughly the story.
Yeah. I just
There's
love
a bit of sport, bit of drama, bit of comedy, bit of fluff.
It's just brilliant. I can't wait.
So you're kickstarting a hardback version of Breaks 2. Could you go into the reasoning why you're doing it through Kickstarter? Because am I right in thinking the book itself is going to be coming out through Soaring Penguin?
Yes. Yeah,
separately.
exactly. So we're in an interesting new age of comics now, as like, I know you guys know, and a lot of people listening will know, where we're seeing this move over to digital, but we haven't quite settled yet on how we make this work. Financially, how does this work? And from my personal perspective so far, there's sort of two angles when I'm making independent comics. So obviously this is not including stuff that I've done where I'm getting paid for it. This is purely talking about independent comics. And there's sort of the joy of doing them, which obviously we do them because we do love doing them, or we wouldn't do them at all. But then there's also trying to make them pay in some way. And these two things are often mutually exclusive things. So with Breaks, for instance, Marlon and I have been creating the comic. So she adapts we originally wrote a prose story together, and then she adapts that into a first draft of comic scripts, and then I jump in and edit. And from that point on, it's all me. So doing the artwork and the lettering and the toning and the uploading and all the work that comes with making a comic. And we give it away for free because we wanted it to hit a YA audience particular. But it's actually amazing how varied our readers are, which I love. And it's hopefully something that's accessible to anyone. But because of the nature of the story, we especially wanted it to hit a certain demographic who might not be out there buying comics. They might not be in comic shops, but they are online reading webcomics. So it was important to us to have it hit those people, and we didn't want to charge for it. Our perhaps naive hope was that we would give it away for free, and then when the books come out, you know, in some magical way, we'd sell enough books to pay back some of the work we've done. And we're really lucky that Soaring Penguin were really interested in the story, so they offered to publish it, which is fab. But I don't think Soaring Penguin will mind me saying this, what we get with them is wonderful because they care about it, and their distribution channels are really good. So if someone in Canada orders a copy of the paperback, it will get to a shop in Canada. They can make that happen. On the flip side, they're an independent publisher, which is part of why we like them. And that means that the deal has no money attached to it. So it's something that means the comic gets put out there, which is fantastic for us, but it's not something, you know, unless it sells crazy amounts, because it costs a lot of money for them to have to print it and distribute it. So it's sort of them helping us out by distributing the book, and we're giving them the content for free to do that. So it's sort of, you know, we help each other out with that. But ultimately it means that as a creative team, we're sitting there out of pocket. So Soaring Penguin did a special edition of the first book, which was intended to sort of maybe help bolster what we were earning, which was lovely of them, but they handled the design and the printing of it, and then I buy copies from them. So when it came to the second book, I just said to them, well, how would you feel about if I just took that off of you keep doing what you do, but actually I just make like a special limited Kickstarter one, which is more personal, and it's me direct to people saying, look, if you want the story to move faster, if you want to have Arc 3 done quicker than this, then this is your chance to get a beautiful copy of the book and also contribute towards me creating Arc 3. So it's sort of hopefully if it works out, it's a way of showing that we can give away the comic for free and people will be willing to pay you back for that kindness, is the hope.
So you get extras by buying a hardback edition as well, though, don't you, to what you'd get through the softback? Yeah,
so the softback will be the standard trade edition, which would obviously be the whole Arc 2. The hardback, it's going to be hardback. It's got extra bonus gallery that's got kind of content in it that I've made exclusively for this edition. So it's got some special artwork and some behind the scenes stuff, character bios. Also, I've got in some of the tiers, there's a smoochy dust jacket, so you can either get it as a standard book, or you can get it. I'm looking at you, Nikki.
I was going to say you're picking on definitely a specific audience here, specific gamers.
You know what? I have made it for free for 6 years. I am looking to my lovely specific audience now, and I have no shame anymore. No, it's a really cute. I wanted to do something because with the first book, we were never going to promote it. That's not the angle we wanted to promote it as being. By book 2, we've got enough people on board who can understand when we're being tongue-in-cheek about it, I think. So the dust jacket is just full out. I call it the ice cream edition. It's just like super cute pinks and like smoochy covers fun. There's a couple of signed book plates, so you get a choice of 2 designs, or you can get both of them. Some people can bundle in book 1. And then at the high end, there's also a couple of special ones, like with commissions attached to them, or I've even got 3 where you get to design a bit of graffiti to go on the wall of the cover of the second book, which is kind of fun.
That's cool.
So I've never done anything like this. I've never kind of delved into Kickstarters. I've backed a lot of Kickstarters, and had a lot of friends basically saying, you know, this is the time to try it. So here I am trying it.
Have you got any worries about using Kickstarter? As anything that's sort of ticking in the back of your mind? Because obviously it is a challenge.
Yeah, like paranoia is ticking all the time, like massively. You kind of, everyone I know who's run one have been really good and honest about it, and they all say just prepare yourself because you've never done anything like this before. You know, it's literally. It's one thing when I make a book with a publisher and I put it out there and it might sell and it might not sell, and you can't control the market. You don't know. You might get good responses, you might get bad responses. And with Breaks, we get a lovely response online. I mean, if you look at the numbers alone, just on the Tapas feed, we've now got 14,000 subscribers a week reading the comic there. So you like to think on a numbers level, you're like, well, surely a few of them might want to give me some money. And it's not something you can rely on, though. So when it comes to Kickstarter, you're pretty much putting your heart out there and saying, please tell me that what I'm doing is something that's worth you wanting to give me some money for. You know, if you've been reading this story for 6 years, tell me that it's worth 20 quid. You know, that's so it's really scary because there's every chance the internet's going to turn around and say, no, it's not. So you have to like steel yourself for that. But it only launched this morning and I have a marginal frame of reference, but I'm looking at the page in front of me as we talk because of course I am, because I'm just going to keep.
And for the next 30 odd days you will be.
You know, I feel like it's been an okay first day, I think. So, yeah, hopefully we've started off all right. So
today is the 1st of July. You'll be hearing this on the 15th onwards. Yes. So we will update the figure where you're up to then. When's it running till?
It is running till the end of July. So we've got 29 days left.
And counting.
Getting up, like. And yes, of course, by the 15th, we'll be halfway through. So it's going to be a perfect time, actually. We'll probably just be that point where hopefully by halfway through, I'll either have a sense that, oh, we're going to do it, or I'll be going, please launch your podcast episode now. Save me.
Now, we're going to admit something first now. We've not backed it.
Not yet.
I won't be angry at you for that.
However, after we put this down, within half an hour, it will be back. So there's another. Another one will be
with
will
the
be placed.
Cover, please.
We'll check the price out on that first. We're not.
Awesome. Awesome. I mean, like you know, if you want to go crazy, you could design some graffiti with a cover that's got your podcast on it. You know.
Oh.
Let's not get silly. It's funny because you've been so supportive of it with the first book as well. Like I think of you a lot, actually. Every time I'm doing these things, I think, well, I know one person's I know these people are going to get it. Like, yeah, there's someone out there. I'm really happy. Like, it's been a really nice response today. And the actual webcomic update just went live an hour ago. So I launched this morning. So for the UK and Europe more, and then America's kind of just waking up, and the webcomic's just gone out this evening. And that's where hopefully the people who are reading are going to then see that link and hopefully click it. We'll see. But yes, of course, I'm talking about the past because we are now on the 15th of July.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Yes. And it's backed and it's great.
It will have been going to be fine.
Before we let you go, I just want a bit of advice for Nikki. She hates it when I do stuff like this.
Okay.
So she's starting to work on her first graphic novel, if you want to put that term. Already released 2 small comics. Mm-hmm. What advice can you give to someone who's taking part in a big project like that, and then hopefully publishing down the line? Fingers crossed.
Right. Well, like, I wish I could give you advice on how to make money out of it.
There's definitely no money there.
Pretty much as the conversation we've just been having goes, I think you need to think about the reasons you're doing it. And I know that with you do this because you love doing it. So your first port of call is getting people to see it. That's sort of, you want to be sharing it. So the internet is an amazing tool to be using. Things like sites like Tapas, Webtoons that I haven't checked out yet, but I've heard a lot of good stuff about it.
I'm addicted to Webtoons.
Are you?
Yeah.
I should probably put a Breaks feed on there, actually.
Yeah. No, don't tempt me.
Maybe that's something I should do with Kickstarter. Smack G's is where we first started hosting. So it's the kind of thing where you can start to sort of build up a small readership, and a lot of it then just hoping that this takes hold, and then hopefully here we are on the 15th of July. I can pretend that everything's gone great, and I can tell you that what happens is you build that loyal following up, and then when you do ask for support, you get that support. That's how I want to see it working out. So, God, it would be so sad if it didn't work out, and I've just said that I'm actually on the 15th. No.
It's going to be fine.
It's fine. But yeah, so, I mean, it's difficult to give advice because everyone approaches these things so differently, and it depends who your audience group is and, what your target demographic is. But generally, I think you're in such a good place for it because you're already supporting the industry. You're already talking to people. You're networking. You're communicating. And that networking, I think people see as almost a dirty word, but it's not. It's just making friends. I don't like to use the word networking so much, but you're inadvertently networking by being in the bar and talking to people at a convention. And it's a nice thing to do because it's a nice industry full of nice people to talk to. Yeah. And you're already perfectly positioned to be doing that. So you're doing it the right way. You've sort of shown interest in an industry, you're supporting an industry through doing a podcast, and then you're saying, oh, by the way, guys, I'm also making something. So I'd say any advice I could give is just that you're doing it the right way already.
Brilliant. Thank you. Right, so where do people need to go?
Yes.
Okay, so the actual Kickstarter full link is really long, so
We will put a link in the description.
So I think probably the full link can be in the description. Otherwise, I would say go to my Twitter account. It's probably one of the best ports of call. And on my profile, I'm just literally clicking now to check I've done it. Yes, on my bio. No, I have not put the link on my bio. However, I have a pinned tweet. So when you go to my Twitter, which is just at Emma Vieceli, the very first pinned tweet has got a link to the Kickstarter, and that is going to be live as of the 15th of July. That is going to be live for another 14 days or so. So yeah, go there, check it out. If you want to read any of the comic online first to get a sense of whether you like it, then there are links to all that stuff as well. It's kind of there for you to check out and hopefully want to support. And the key is, if I just make my Kickstarter amount, that will cover my print and my postage. I decided to set it as low as I possibly could, without being out of pocket. But anything we go over actually buys me time to work on Arc 3. So in an app, if everyone who was subscribed just on Tapas gave £1, that would give me enough money to print and distribute the book and spend 3 months making the comic. So it's sort of just making sure enough people hear about it, and every small amount is going to help if lots of people give a small amount, But there are lots of fun things. If you want to get something a little bit more, worth a little bit more, there's lots of nice stuff to get as well. So
smoochy covers.
Like smoochy covers.
And am I right in thinking as well, if I don't know, some people can't always afford a badge, but you do have a Patreon account as well, is that right?
I have a Patreon account as well. Again, with the Kickstarter, you can always put a pledge without a reward.
That's true,
if you want to put as little as
or you've got digital, haven't you, as well? You've got the digital version, is that right?
Yeah, there's digital versions from £5. Yeah. So there's things in there. I quite often back Kickstarters without a reward, actually. Sometimes if I've been reading it online and I think, well, actually, I don't necessarily want another book on my shelf, but I want to say thanks for making the comic. So you can always throw money in without requesting a reward, which is quite nice. But yeah, otherwise Patreon, if you're someone who'd rather kind of give as little as $1 a month every month, so it just sort of comes out every month, then you can find me on Patreon as well.
Superb. Thank you so much, Emma.
Thank you so much, guys, and thank you for your upcoming pledge.
I was lying. Anyway.
He's not.
Room for one lawgiver, please.
Judge Dredd. Or is it just Dredd? Fancy seeing you here.
Catwoman, you also here for the Comic Art Festival or a stint in the ISO cubes?
Of course. I love to see my makers in action. Watch it, Greenie.
Careful, Hulk. In this town we have a saying. Once is a coincidence, twice is a booking offence.
I think he booked the events on the website.
Huh?
comicartfestival.com. It's got all the perfect information about the event.
Yeah, so's my fist. Druck, I'm out of here. Not standing around with those 4 tortoises that have just entered the building.
Cowabunga, dude!
Find out all about the Lakes International Comic Art Festival and booking information at www.comicartfestival.com.
My name's Ian.
And I'm Nikki.
And we are the hosts of the Lakes International Comic Art Festival podcast. I go all journalistic and presenterish when I do that.
Is that your presenting voice?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we run a podcast, and just to explain what a podcast is, it's essentially a radio program, if you've never heard of them, that you download on a regular basis. It's probably the best way of saying it. And we do it for the Comic Art Festival, voluntary. And I'm just a comic fan, comic reader. Favourite comic books, probably Batman versus Judge Dredd, because I like the way the two characters combine. However, Nikki's a bit more than just a reader.
Well, I like Garfield books, if that's any help.
Go.
I'm a podcaster and I'm a comic creator. I've got 2 books at the moment. One is actually a children's book.
Leaf,
about Little Fox. And my other book, my first one, is about how to deal with anxiety. And that's my little bit that I bring towards
you're doing
this.
more.
I am, yes.
So you're learning.
Yeah.
So if you've got any questions for Nikki down the line about her work, then please ask away. So we've got some questions for you guys. We're going to read them out, and then if you ask the teacher to pause, you can answer them on audio. They're going to record them.
Yeah.
And then we'll put them on the podcast, and you'll be flying
Famous.
around the world. So first question. What's your favourite comic and why?
So, my favourite comic is probably each of the first issues of the DC Rebirth event, because they can appeal to both like old fans and new. They're able to draw you in as a new reader if you've never experienced Batman or Superman or The Flash or whatever, but they're a host of new adventures and things that we've never seen before, like Speed Force Storms from The Flash. That's the one that's probably my favourite one. I'm a big Flash fan.
I don't really have a favourite comic, but I do like comedy sort of related topics.
Comedy's always good. You can't go wrong with comedy. You can't go wrong with comedy.
Like there's this one called Goblins. I don't know, which is.
Question number 2.
Tell us about your comic club and what you do there.
Well, basically we're just a bunch of geeks that hang out at lunch times. That's pretty much all we have to do. We now and again like draw our own comics, put together a little anthology. Are always hyped about the new movies, look at the trailers, watch whatever like fan things you can find on YouTube. All the good stuff. You got anything to add?
We write our own comics.
Yeah. Together, right now we're putting together an anthology.
Question 3. What do you like about comics?
Comics. What do we like about comics?
They're different from normal books. You can just look at pictures.
Yeah, whereas like
More, I don't know, of readers.
in novels, you're left to visualise things for yourself, and sometimes that can like, I'm not saying it's not good to be able to visualise things for yourself, but it can sometimes go a bit astray to what the writer intended. But whereas a comic, you can set out a straight narrative, but you still get to actually read something. It's not just like TV where all you have to do is listen and watch.
Yeah.
Question 4. Tell us about your Lycaf Windows Trail entry. What are you drawing?
Or what did they draw?
What did they draw? Yes,
Yes.
sorry.
At the moment, we are drawing, as the theme is, it's beasties, isn't it? Villains, monsters and beasties and things like that.
Yeah.
And
This is because of like Hellboy.
yeah, the Hellboy
Hellboy
movie, that
It's
was...
just come out recently.
It wasn't that recently, but
Yeah.
I guess
Well,
you could say it
I
was
don't know.
recently.
Recently.
Recently-ish. But no, we are setting up in a decor shop, so a lot of the monsters that we set around are actually wielding like paint brushes as weapons, like paint rollers.
Anything DIY.
Yeah, pretty much anything DIY. They're ready to, like, I don't know, nail gun you to a wall.
Yeah. It's set in a jungle, so.
Yeah, they're...
A setting as well.
Question 5. How did it feel to see your work on display on the windows?
How does it feel to see our work displayed in the windowsills? Well, it's quite cool, actually. Like, you know, there are a lot of people walking around, you get to see them, like, admiring, you see them look at your piece, like, hey, I did that, they seem to like that, that's cool.
Yeah.
And, like...
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's...
Yes. Work in public and people appreciate it.
Publicity, like, some people like it, some people hate it, but when it comes to art and things people have made, it's good all the time, pretty much.
Okay, is this question 6 now?
Question 6.
What have you had the chance to do with the festival? I believe you had the chance to have some big comic guests visit you.
Well, quite often, we have comic artists come in. Like, we've had Zoom Rockman.
And...
Yeah.
Who is it?
Sean Phillips.
Yeah, Sean Phillips,
yeah.
Him as well.
Yeah. And now and again, we often go on, like, trips just outside of school to go to some talks. We've...
Lorenzo.
Yes, we've been to one with Lorenzo Everington. Just Lorenzo, though. And who else was there?
It was that guy who wrote Deadpool comics.
Yeah.
What was he called?
I feel like I should remember his name, but I really can't.
Yeah, I don't know.
Man of Action dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
wow, look at us. Absolute geeks, remembering names and everything. Woo, we are on top of this.
Feels like it's a mic, but I'm not sure. I think it might be a mic.
You know, thinking about it, he might be a mic.
I think it might.
How casual, yeah. Oh god. No, we do whatever we can to really get involved, you know, find people, talk to them, Q&As, draw-alongs, things like that. That's always good. That's always good.
Question 7. Why do you feel comics are important? And why are they important to you in particular?
Well, like I've said, they set out a straight narrative, allow you to read, but also give you a visual aid as well. But there are a lot of people that don't like reading because books are big and very chunky a lot of the time, and you can easily just get like put off if the wording just isn't to your style. But a comic is like purely dialogue, and you get to like see an environment. People tend to like the bright, flashy colours of comics, or maybe like the gothic tones behind it if they're not interested in the colour. And a lot of much more interesting stories can be told in comics with visual aids than in books.
Also, in comics, it gives the artist a chance to make a story and do their art at the same time.
Yeah.
So we're not having to choose from one of you.
Yeah, you've got like, or like with the Everington brothers, you can have one person like skilled in writing, one person skilled in art, combine it together, you've got a load of great comics.
Yeah.
And question 8, do you have any plans for this year's festival?
Well, obviously we've got the window trail, obviously.
Be villains thing again. But we might go on the trip again, I don't know.
Yeah, like, personally, just rock up and see what it has to offer, because there's always a load of great things.
Yeah.
As a club, we'll just, we'll see what we can do. See where we can go as like a large group of people, because there's quite a few of us at the moment.
Yeah.
And it's growing in numbers.
Yeah.
Well, hello everyone and welcome to Small Pressed, the small press review section for the Comic Art Festival podcast with Tom from That Comic Smell podcast. And may I say to you all a happy Small Press Day. As of time of recording, Small Press Day has just passed. It was just yesterday, but I'm going to class this whole weekend as Small Press Day. There seem to be a lot of events going on in and around the UK on a whole, and I hope you all got along to one and saw some creators and saw some small press titles, bought some stuff, had some fun, went and saw workshops, talks, anything that was going on in and around your area for Small Press Day. It seemed to be gangbusters. Twitter was alight with a lot of people enjoying themselves yesterday and getting loads of stuff and speaking to loads of people, so it seemed to be quite a success overall. It's really good that there is a highlighted day for small press creators. Now, there is loads and loads of cons and zine fairs and comic art festivals and little pop-up places and whatnot that do give people a chance to show off their comics, but to have a dedicated day to small press and actually to the creator themselves is fantastic. It's such a good idea, it's such a great thing, and I really, really hope to be taking part in the future on more of a sort of hands-on level. We'll wait and see, but I hope the future of this section, and hopefully with delving more into small press, I could get involved myself, and I hope it encourages everybody else out there to do much of the same and get involved in a hands-on level and gives them that inspiration to maybe start their title or collaborate with somebody or hold their own event or something like that. Okay, enough gushing on Small Press Day. On with Small Pressed, the review section. Now today I am talking about Lost Light by Claire Spiller. This absolutely gorgeous little just below A4 sized book I actually picked up in Orbital Comics in London. But I was familiar with Claire Spiller's work already, as Claire Spiller is one of the team members from the Wine and Zine collective. Just quickly, Wine and Zine is a collective made up of 5 artistic ladies from all over the UK who created the absolutely stellar Wine and Zine anthology. I'm not here to speak about that today, but I suggest that if you have some time and have some dosh, go out there and get yourself the Wine and Zine anthology. Absolutely beautiful piece. Anyway, so Claire Spiller. I have some of her artwork in the house. I know quite a few people who also have quite a lot of her artwork in the house. And from reading Lost Light, you can see why. Claire has such a keen eye for characters. This comic specifically revolves around one red-haired female protagonist who is trying to maintain light for when it gets dark out in her home. Because when it gets dark outside, there are all these creatures that come in the middle of the night. It's just trying to ward them off with as much light as possible. And when these creatures destroy the means to which she can keep the light on her property, she is forced to go to a local town through some dark woods and try and seek out more means, more people to keep her protected. But whilst on the way to this town, she discovers that maybe there's a little bit more to the natural in the darkness than meets the eye. Maybe it isn't as scary. This is a completely wordless comic with absolutely stunning visuals and just such a good narrative throughout it. I have said before that wordless comics sometimes don't work. They're just pieces of art, effectively. Well, this one has it down pat, has it completely sealed up. It's just amazing. It has such a good flow to it. Works really well structurally, has a good eye for panels. There's some nice work with sort of diagonal panels. There's some good big one-pagers in here with good movement showing. There's one page in particular of just a path going through the woods and our character's making her way down through that path. Now, Claire shows this by just putting 3 different characters in different almost facial expressions and movement. Now, it seems simple when you say it, but it's not that easy to replicate that. But she does it in such a way that you get that movement of them going down the page. She has such a good fluidity to her movement as well. There's almost like a stringy, goopy vibe when everything moves, but it looks like it's fast-paced, like she's got her character chopping wood at the very, very start in the opening pages and some of the opening panels, and the axe comes swinging above her head, and the way the wood splits, there's almost like a string coming off of it, like a plasticine almost, but it works so well. It's followed by a still image at the bottom that just give you that good sense of movement. the way that the animals are all depicted in this as well is just gorgeous. I mean, the creatures, the way she's drawn them sort of stark black compared to the blindingly yellow and orange light that's coming up, and really blanking out, kind of bleaching almost a lot of the colours with the light as well, making a lot of the forest and that surrounds her home quite muted in a way. It doesn't look great with the light shining on. I think that's the effect that she's going for. It doesn't look as pretty or as beautiful when the light's on it, which makes the stark contrast of the creatures being so dark and black and hideous and almost goopy and slimy in a way. It gives that good contrast between them, and it shows them up so much more because they are so starkly black. I'm assuming it's digital colouring, and I don't know how she's managed it, but the colours for the embers that she's using to start fires and start all the lanterns and everything in and around her home is unbelievable. I really, really get the feel of the heat off of the embers themselves. There is such a colouring of orange and red and everything that you can almost feel it right there and then. And it's the same with, there's some creatures in this, I'm going to have to slightly spoil it, but there is some creatures in this in the night time that have got a cosmic glow to them. But compared to everything else that's in there, even like the trees and everything are all beautiful dark greens and sort of minty greens and everything for the night time. And same with the red hair on the protagonist and lovely sort of blue eyes and whatnot. They're all quite flat and muted compared to these cosmic, almost beautiful painterly colours that are put through these creatures and animals in the night. When they're not doused in light, these creatures really flourish, and so do the pages. The pages just come alive when they're not absolutely doused in this light. I'm utterly in love with some of these creatures, especially there's a stag that's in it that's just gorgeous. It has an absolutely beautiful mane on it, and just absolutely gorgeous. There's some beautiful one-pagers in here that show the night sky and the animals all together, and rivers, and there's foxes, and it's just gorgeous, and an absolutely beautiful piece. And this comic does have a specific message to it as well that is starkly put out in the back. It's put out after having such a wordless piece of art the whole way through. There's a nice little wrap up at the end that says, "Light pollution is having an increasingly disruptive effect on our wildlife. Nocturnal pollinators, migrating birds, and newly hatched sea turtles are just a few animals that suffer from our dependence on artificial lighting. Try not to lose sight of the stars for the streetlights." Oh, that's absolutely beautiful. There's actually a nice little website at the bottom of that as well that says visit www.darksky.org to find your nearest night sky. So Claire's really, really encouraging people here to discover the night, to actually discover the beauty that can be found in a lightless nighttime, the one that's only powered by the moon and stars, the way that nature intended. Not only is this comic an absolutely beautiful piece of art, and very accessible for all ages as well, it also comes with a very poignant message, and one that we're really trying to get hold of these days. I mean, a lot of us are trying to get hold of that, getting back to nature and trying not so much to rely on the artificial. That this is really quite a striking comic all around. It's just absolutely gorgeous. The character does actually make it to the village, and she discovers that everybody is as equally scared of the nighttime as she was. Now that she's made her way through the woods and has discovered that the night isn't so scary, it's almost like she's come to terms with the fact that she doesn't need this reliance on the artificial. She can almost feel safe within the confines of the night and of her solitude in the woods. And to emphasise that in the end, she has a kind of wrap up where, birds are nesting in where her lanterns once used to be, and a lot of the trees are now gone that were hanging lights off of it, and the nature is just left to roam. She's not scaring any of them off anymore. It's just, it's absolutely beautiful. The first time I read it, I got quite emotional whilst reading it. Just, I could feel the swells of joy watching this character come to terms with how beautiful nature can be and how beautiful this planet can be. And yet at the time I didn't actually know that the message was about light pollution. It can convey it really, really well, definitely. But it also just is a beautiful piece to look at overall. It's a great character progression story, and not just for the protagonist, but also for the animals and the monsters per se that are in the night. It's utterly beautiful. The actual comic itself, the pages and the cover and everything do have these starry and stellar sort of looking animals and visuals on the front and back, so you get it straight from the off. But it's just beautifully designed, really nicely put together. I would highly recommend this, 100%. I cannot recommend Claire Spiller's work enough. Her piece in the Wine and Zine anthology brought tears to my eyes. I absolutely adored it. So to have this dedicated comic done by herself is just amazing. I actually want to thank Claire because she makes such moving pieces of art that it's just utterly breathtaking, and I love being able to consume this and know that this exists and be able to be a fan of something that's so gorgeous and so breathtaking. I love it. If you want to pick up your own copy, head to Orbital Comics in London, or I'm sure Claire's got a couple of copies out there somewhere. If you want to give her a shout on either Instagram or Twitter or Facebook to ask her, you can get her on Instagram at The Claire Spiller, TheClairespiller, or Twitter at Claire Spiller, or Facebook at Art of Claire Spiller. You can also find her works and her illustration works on her website at www.clairespiller.co.uk. Absolutely beautiful. I love this book overall. Lost Light by Claire Spiller. Once again, I hope you all had a great small press day, and I hope you all discovered some amazing comics along the way. I thoroughly look forward to next year, and I hope you all do too. If you'd like to get in touch with me and send along your small press comic for me to read or review, or for somebody just to have a look at and talk about, even online, not even just in this, just even to shout about it, you can contact me Twitter at URAMYX, or at my own podcast, That Comic Smell, at That Comic Smell on Twitter and Instagram. And you can also listen to my podcast, That Comic Smell, on SoundCloud, Spotify, Podbean, most places that you get your podcasts. And that is it for Small Press this time. I have been Tom, and you have a great rest of your week. See you later, folks.
Would I ever?
Yes.
So we've got loads of stuff to talk about that's been announced for the festival. First of all, artist Tom of Finland expedition.
Where's he going?
He's coming from Finland to the UK.
Oh,
he's also doing an exhibition. Celebrating the forthcoming 100th anniversary of the birth of Tom of Finland, the world's best loved queer artist. And why are you yawning?
I wasn't. I was clicking my jaw.
From the 1940s on, Tom pushed the boundaries of gay erotic art, creating a style of comics that inspired a generation of gay men to celebrate their sexuality. My aim is not to create an ideal, but to draw beautiful men who love each other and are proud of it. Tom died in 1991. So it's an exhibition of his work. So let's go camping with Tom of Finland. It's so funny, Tom of Finland. There's only one Tom in Finland. Has been created with the Tom of Finland Foundation. It's really hard to keep saying that. So this sounds really interesting. Now, first thing to notice, other than it being free, you've got to be 18.
Yeah, I was kind of. I was gonna ask if you had to be a certain age to go into that one.
A certain age. It's the Cross Lane Projects, which is the Cross Lane and Kendal. Cross Lane Projects, Cross Lane Kendal. We'll get full details of the exact location for people who are from outside.
Yeah,
as we go forward.
Head to the Factory Tap Pub.
We think it's over that way.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain it is.
So yeah, that's interesting. I like the sound of this. Something completely different, like 18 plus. Go away, kids. We're having some fun. Right, next bit is the festival lineup essentially has been announced.
Yep.
With a load more Danish creators being thrown there on the bill. I'm not even going to try and read the names.
Are you not?
I'm not even going to do it.
No, it's probably best.
Please do go and look at the website. The latest posts up with all the guests on. Some others that have been announced. Daryl Cunningham will be returning with his new book. David Leitch will be there, who we saw at Mac Pow. Other than that, yeah, I'm just done with destroying people's names.
Yeah, it's probably best.
I just can't.
That you
I
stop
can't.
now.
I can't do it anymore. The poor people. So, yeah, check that out. Now then, upcoming episodes.
Yeah, so I've got
We've
Twitchy
got
Eye.
some planned. We are going to MCM Comic Con Manchester.
We are.
So we're going to get some interviews of people in the Comic Village there. And so that's going to be next episode. We'll do a report.
Oh, blimey, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like 2 weeks' time, isn't it?
We'll do a report on the event. Following that, I think we mentioned last time, we've got Lucy Sullivan.
Yep.
Will be on. And then following that, we have to talk about his new book, The Book of Forks.
Oh my god. I'm so excited.
What day this will be on.
I need this book in my life. Oh my god.
Anyway,
I've waited so long.
you probably get breaks too in this book around the same time.
Oh my god, my life is complete. That's just like my two favourite things. Who needs Christmas?
Anyway, so they're all coming up in future episodes. So if you're out and about in Manchester MCM, you see us with our t-shirts on.
Oh, I've got to wear the t-shirt.
I've got to wear the t-shirt.
I'm going to wear my t-shirt.
Well, you can do. If you see a fox in a pocket or
That'd be me.
podcast, come and say hello, and we'll say hello back and then run away.
Is that all we do? Just go, all right.
And just run away from the
And
crowds.
run away.
Yeah.
The crowds.
Through the crowds, I meant. Through the crowds.
People are only going to MCM to see us,
Yeah.
obviously.
They've just not announced us yet, that's all.
Special guests. Secret special guests.
Right, thank you very much for listening. Say thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening. Find out more about the festival at comicartfestival.com. Find out more about the show and how to contact us at comicartpodcast.uk. Find us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. Music composed by Pop Noir.